Live now. You are listening to Black Mike ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, on Civil Radio 101.7 FM. And I'm joined here with Ryan McClary. Hi. We bring you love and music all across the Fraser Valley. Ryan McClary, nice to have you in studio.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
It is. Yeah, I thought it was time to have you in studio. You're like veteran music-wise.
Well, I wouldn't say veteran music-wise.
No?
No.
You would say that?
I'd say that I play music.
For how long?
I've been playing the bass for 26 years.
Veteran. Veteran. This is like, what, my third year in the music industry?
Okay.
So, compared to you, you're a veteran.
Well, I haven't been in the music industry.
Okay.
I've kind of been on the outskirts of the scene here in Abbotsford for the last 15 years or so. But I actually only started recording bass for other musicians in the last 2 years. And I've only started playing gigs in the last year.
Oh!
Yeah.
Well, the more you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a late bloomer.
I wouldn't say that. You've known the talk of the talk since before I was born. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if I walked the walk though. I probably talked a lot of talk.
But yeah, just for the people who are joining us here on Civil Radio, just give us a little bit about your background and, a little bit more beyond what we've already talked about.
For sure, yeah. Born and raised in the Fraser Valley. I grew up a little bit of a country kid and on a big hobby farm. And for Christmas when I was 13, I asked my parents for a guitar, and because my brother already played, they got me the bass. And that was the start of my bass journey. So, yeah, local musician, I guess you could say, local artist, and most recently I've been recording songs with another local artist and a legend of the Fraser Valley, Nellie P.
Yeah.
Who was also on your show.
Yes, who was also on my show. We've gotta love Nellie P. He's such a sweetheart.
He's my brother.
Yeah. Okay, so you've listened to a bit of the show before. You know then that we typically have a hype song.
Yes.
So, I'm gonna start off with our normal hype song, but what is the song that you wanted to suggest?
Well, speaking of Nellie P, if we're talking a hype song and we're gonna be talking bass, we gotta play The Remedy. It's one of his most recent
The Remedy.
One of his most recent releases, and Nellie was gracious enough to let me have some liberties on the bass during that recording, so that was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm excited to hear this song. Right after Domino, we will be playing The Remedy by Nellie P. But right now, of course, we gotta start off the show a little bit hype. We gotta start off, attempting to spit off some bars and shaking booty. So here is Domino by Stray Kids, and we'll be right back after that. Wow, I'm mind blown. I've only heard like the little mellow songs from Nelly, so this has got me shook. Nelly, why didn't you tell me you could do that?
You got to check out all of his stuff online.
Yeah.
He's got a whole album from a few years back, and then a bunch of singles, including the 7 singles he's released in the last year and a half. That he and I recorded. And that recording there that was a lot of fun. It's also a veritable who's who of Fraser Valley music legends, as we were discussing.
Yeah.
Kyler Pierce on the electric guitar. You've got James Stobie playing the organ.
Wow.
Jay Stewart on the drums. We also recorded in Jay's studio. So we packed 6 people. Tight little space. And that was all. It was live off the floor, and then I recut some vocals afterwards with Kyler. And then, of course, the guitar solo. Paul Casione. Paul the Tone Casione.
Oh my God.
Absolute legend.
Absolute, that guitar solo, 10 out of 10 guitar solo.
Right.
That is 20 out of 10 guitar solo.
And you know what? I feel like the guitar solo is a bit of a dying trope in rock music.
Right.
And so I like to see it coming back.
Yeah, you know what? That gave me an idea that I will not share on the public just now. But I'll keep that in mind. Honestly, you're so right. The guitar solo is so dying. We need that back like yesterday. Because that is like the sparkle of the song, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it just adds another level to it, right?
It does. It does. But wow, that was The Remedy by I'm speechless. The Remedy by Nelly P. Yeah, definitely check out if you're not already checking out Nelly P. We've already had him as a guest on the show. So check out Nelly P because honestly, 10 out of 10 performer, 10 out of 10 guy. And I've already said this before on the show, but if you watch him perform Bailando, 9 out of 10, if you were gay, you're straight now. And if you're straight, you're gay now. I'm just saying, like, 9 out of 10 times. That man has the voice of some kind of seduction maniac. Anyway, yeah. What do you think about Domino by Stray Kids?
That is a straight up hype song.
That is a straight up hype song.
I've heard it on the show before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get why you play it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was wondering, like, what is a good hype song? And I'm like, I could go through the entirety of Stray Kids' discography and pick one random song, and it's a hype song 9 out of 10 times.
For real? Okay.
So, yes, I'm going to give you homework.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not super familiar with the Stray Kids, so
Yeah, honestly, maybe this is just me because I'm always promoting Stray Kids for some reason. But, like, Stray Kids is a 10 out of 10 group. They have 8 members. And you know that, like, almost baritone voice you heard at the end of Domino? Can I show you who the person sounds like?
Yeah,
who looks like? This is how he looks like.
no way.
That is how he looks like.
That's wild.
So he's a little, yeah. He looks like a child. He looks 19.
I love it when the voice doesn't quite match
Right.
the face. Yeah. Especially when it's like a super deep voice and a delicate face.
Just one by one. Honestly, which kind of reminds me, now I have to, it's the phenomenon around Stray Kids when they listen to Stray Kids and they immediately, his name is Felix, they immediately hear Felix and like, huh? Yeah, so it comes from the song God's Menu. And I'm going to play that just because, I mean, we're going to get to the topic, but like, I'm going to play that just because I want to see your reaction to the song. The Felix effect is real. It is what 90% of Stray Kids fans, how they get into Stray Kids.
Really?
So I'm going to play God's Menu, and then we'll be right back after that, and I swear we'll get to the topic. All right, here is God's Menu. And we'll be right back after that. So welcome back to Civil Radio 101.7 FM. If you're just joining us, I'm joined here in studio with Ryan McClary. And you just heard God's Menu by Stray Kids. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, another hype song.
Another hype song.
It's almost all Rise. with
Yeah,
those guys,
yeah.
No, I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I was this is the first song that I listened to from Stray Kids, and it's typically this. Like I said, it's typically the song that gets people like, oh, who is Stray Kids? You know. So yeah, definitely a group to look out for because they created their own genre. Like that genre of music didn't exist before them.
So what genre is that?
It's called maniacal stray music.
Maniacal stray music.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like, it's supposed to be a mix of like incredibly high tempos with like melodic intervals. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, that just didn't exist beforehand. But like, that's not to say that like it wasn't an entire thing. It's just like their kind of music is what stepped up, at least in K-pop, for the fourth generation, fifth generation, and stuff like that. But obviously, they've had influences, and I could go into a rant about that, but I'm not gonna do that. So yes, yeah, I just wanted to share my little obsession.
Thank you.
No. So, yes, the bass. I was gonna ask about your history with the bass, but you already gave us a sort of demo history session. You said you started, what, 2 years ago?
So me and Nelly started jamming about 3 years ago. It was about the time that I got involved with Jam and Jubilee and the Abbotsford Arts Council. And the big thing for me was I wanted to reconnect with the things that brought me joy, which are community and music and art. And,
Right.
you know, I'd kind of sunk myself so deep into work and making money for a long time that I'd let those things fall by the wayside. And I found myself in a position where I'd lost my job after 5 years and didn't really want to rush back into anything. And so I found myself connecting with those things that brought me joy, and that was what kind of spurred on my, let's call it renaissance, my bass renaissance.
Bass renaissance.
So after the first year of jamming with Nelly, I started setting goals for myself. I told myself within the next year I wanted to record, I wanted to do more writing, and I wanted to play some gigs. And so in 2024, Nelly and I recorded 4 songs. So there's a Christmas song, there's April, which is like his big hit, and yeah, so we did those 2, and then we did If You're Gonna Hate Me, and I'm forgetting the other one from that session. But anyways, we recorded 4 songs in 2024, and then recorded 3 more in 2025, and then he and I did a couple cover gigs with a local duo called Old Growth. So Neil Duncan and Eric, I'm going to get his last name wrong, Vandier? Yeah, something like that. But we did country covers and 90s rock covers.
Right.
At Farmhouse Brewery in Chilliwack, and we also did a party out in Yarrow. And then graciously, Nelly asked me to join him at Andrew Christopher's 4th annual fundraiser, Live for Lily, up at the property that they have there on Mount Tom.
Right.
And we did Nelly's music, and we were joined by the bulk of Northern Dark Horse. So
Wow.
Kyler, Paul Casione, Jake on the drums, and yeah, they joined us up on stage. Not having, I mean, Kyler had recorded all the songs with us, and Paul had played solos on them post recording session, but we had never performed it
Together.
Yeah, so it was
Right.
really cool. We got up, we performed all those songs from the last year and a half, and oh man, it was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
I can imagine. To be honest, I'm a little intimidated to even be in the room with Kyler Peters.
Man, do you think you're intimidated to be in the room with them? I was intimidated to be on stage with those guys.
That's a
Especially on stage with those guys, and who's coming up next? Northern Dark Horse.
Northern Dark Horse.
And who's coming up after that? Andrew Christopher and the Invisible Band.
Whoa.
Or Imaginary Band. Andrew Christopher and the Imaginary Band. And like, these guys are consummate professionals. They're amazing musicians. And so yeah, it's intimidating to be up on stage and know, okay, I'm playing with these guys, first of all. But these are the guys who I'm playing to open for. Like, boy. Yeah, I felt really good. That was like a highlight of my musical career so far.
You know what the highlight of my musical career was? When I got complimented by Franklin. Like,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, he was like, yeah, it's just like, I don't know how you do it, like, performing without an instrument in front of you to, like, hide behind. And I'm like, I like scaring people. and he was like, that's good for you. And it was awesome. He was like, what's your Instagram? And I was like, oh my God, this is I was
You're a little
freaking out.
starstruck?
Get a little awestruck. I was like, this guy is so cool. Yeah, that was strange. And
That, you know what? I mean, any compliment about your music from Franklin is a high compliment.
Is a high compliment. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another local music legend, just an incredible songwriter. Yeah, I really love the stuff that they've done with Northern Dark Horse.
I agree. Especially because, like, for me, I've never been one to do like folk or something like that, or just like engage with like folk in general. Because I'm a little like stress ball. Like, I need to be like up and energized. And so it was super mellow when I heard Northern Dark Horse for the first time, and I was like, whoa, am I on LSD right now? Like, I feel like the truck driving song. I felt like I was driving a truck.
Like you're in a trance.
Like I'm in a trance, and I'm wearing a flannel, and I have a beard, and I'm like...
Oh, man. Their song Bookends does that to me. It's just like pure nostalgia. Like the imagery of the fields and barns, and it's so hardcore Abbotsford and so hardcore where I grew up.
Right.
And that country upbringing, it just hits me with nostalgia like a freight train every time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Something about Northern Dark Horse. They're pulling on whatever receptors are supposed to receive dopamine, and they've put in Northern Dark Horse. You know what I mean? But yeah, it is so awesome that you played for, like, basically opened for them. Well, like, how did that, come to be? Like, how did that happen?
So, I mean, obviously, you know Nelly, and you know kind of how well known he is around the valley. So
gotta love Nelly.
Yeah, Andrew Christopher wanted Nelly to play that event, and I think Nelly had played a couple of years prior. And instead of just go up with his acoustic guitar and perform like he usually does, he wanted to do it with a band and promote the songs that he had recorded in the last year, and promote them as they sound on the record, right? So, yeah, it was simple as that, and he just asked Kyler for a favor, and Kyler said, as Kyler often does, Kyler will say, yeah, okay, I'll do this, but we have to do this. So Kyler, his stipulation for bringing Northern Dark Horse on stage to play with Nelly, which I'm sure he would have done anyways, because Kyler's a good guy and he loves the music.
Yeah.
But was we had to play Bailando.
Honestly, yeah.
And I had just learned Bailando of Nelly and was like struggling with making sure I pulled back and played for the song rather than played what I wanted to play for.
Yeah.
But I messed up the outro.
Oh no.
And literally just like had to put my hands down and stop playing a couple bars before the end of the song, because I knew I didn't know where we were going. I lost the plot.
Oh my god.
And it was a moment where I was like, oh man, we just had this awesome set and we're wrapping it up with Bailando and I messed it up.
Oh my knees. Oh no. I can heavily relate. I think well, not necessarily relate in that sense. I've never actually performed with Nelly. Unless you count the radio, but like, yeah.
You did perform with Nelly, and I listened to it.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
I was so shook. I was against the clock and was wondering, how am I going to get all these lyrics down? Because I was like, Nelly's a fantastic songwriter. He's like, you do all the songwriting. And I was like, okay.
Well, to write and perform a song with an hour on the clock is pretty impressive for anybody. And so, yeah, like, I think you guys did a great job. I listened to it live, and it was super impressive to hear you guys go through the process on the radio.
Yeah.
I literally sat in the parking lot at the grocery store because I was supposed to go out and shop for groceries. And I was like, oh, this is happening right now? And so I sat in the parking lot for an hour and listened to you guys.
You know what I've got to do? I've got to get you and Nelly to do the White Studio Challenge on the same time on studio. Maybe for season 2, but
okay.
Yeah. So you've spoken about songwriting before. Do you typically have like a songwriting process?
I mean, honestly, for me, writing right now has been mostly writing bass lines.
Okay.
And I have done a little bit of attempting to write my own music, but I'm still getting down the act of singing and playing guitar at the same time. Like, you know, patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it is a different world than bass, and singing and playing bass is incredibly hard. And for those of you who do it, I am super impressed and not worthy. But yeah, I mean, I'm still working on a songwriting process. I haven't fully fleshed that out. But as far as writing bass lines, what I typically do is, like I said before, you play for the song, right? So I'll sit down with Nelly. He'll show me a new song of his. I'll chart out the chords and the verses, the chorus, the bridge, whatever. And then I know what notes I can play. Right? And this is the cool thing about bass is like on guitar, you're playing chords, right? You're playing a bunch of notes at the same time. Whereas on the bass, it's a lot harder to play chords and it can sound a lot muddier.
Right.
So instead, you play those diatonic, those chord tones linearly, and you make a bass line. Right? That's why you call it a bass line. Right? It's a linear chord.
Right.
And so I sit down and I know the notes that I can play, and then I really feel for what is in the song that isn't being expressed by the guitar or isn't being expressed by the vocal.
Right.
Like where that space is, right? Where that room to kind of throw in a flourish or throw in a chord tone, just to kind of fill that gap and see if I can find an underlying melody that is there already, right, in the space between, without getting too much in the way. And as I think I've said to Aaron before, Nelly's definitely checked me once or twice and been like, okay, bassist.
Okay, bassist.
You're doing too much, man.
Wow.
Back it up. But yeah, no, he's also been really gracious as far as, you know, letting me explore and letting me kind of feel out bass lines when we jam. And sometimes I go a little bit harder on a song that doesn't really require it, just to play around with it, right? And kind of find where I'm at. But yeah, you know, writing for bass is a lot of fun because you have a lot of options. You can be just that backbeat with the drums. You can do that rhythm, or you can add in those melodic flourishes and add that nice deep underlying melody that kind of really just gets into your bones. Because if you ask me, like, the thing you move to
is the bass.
Music,
it is the bass.
It's bass and drums.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the things that, like, hit you at your core and make you want to dance, make you want to move, make you want to bob your head. Right? So
exactly, yeah.
You've got to find those opportunities to make people want to bob their head.
I definitely agree. And it sucks that the bass isn't talked about as much, especially, I don't know how on the internet you are, but...
Not really.
Okay. So, and maybe this is just like a thing that's been happening, but typically in band dynamics, you know, and this is also partially because of the media towards movies and stuff like that. In band dynamics, it's like, oh my god, the guitarist, oh my god, the drummer, and like my favorite player of a band is always the bass player.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
we
love you.
And there's a reason for it, and the reason is not just because they're like underappreciated, but also because like without the bass, the guitar just sounds flat. Like it doesn't have any like groove to it, and that's why your point about, you know, bopping your head or dancing or moving, it comes from the bass and the drums, and I completely 100% agree with that.
Groove. That's the word.
Groove.
And
exactly.
You know what? I personally think bass is making a resurgence. I think there's a lot more bass-driven songs. Like, it's been a long time since Motown, right? Motown was predominantly bass-driven music. It had soul, it had groove, it birthed funk, you know, which was also predominantly bass-driven. But I think there's a lot of, you know, pop punk and rock bands coming up now that are very much bass-driven, and I love to see it. And then you've got, I mean, I don't know how much you follow bassists in their solo careers, but you've got bassists who are sort of virtuosos, and they're performing in front of stadiums
Right.
by themselves. What's Thundercat? Like Thundercat is huge.
Yeah.
Right? You also got Prince's old bassist Mono Neon, who plays the 5-string bass upside down and backwards. Guys like Victor Wooten has been around for a long time, but
Right.
there are guys out there who are keeping that sort of virtuoso element of the bass alive.
Right.
And there are bands these days that are driving their band by bass.
You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see a bass solo in a song because those are
there's tons
always
of 'em.
spunky.
There's tons of them.
I mean, like in newer songs, you know what I mean? Because every time it's just like, it's guitar solo, it's drum solo. Give me room for the bass, you know?
You got to be a real brave bassist to perform the bass solo.
Are you real
No.
brave? Come on!
I have never performed a bass solo. I don't know that I will. I don't think I am that audacious. Plus,
Sad.
you don't want to be the bassist who plays the bass solo and has the crowd go, "Hey, anybody want to go to the bar and grab a beer?"
That's crazy. That is so wild. You know what? I completely agree with you. But
But you know what? We're the silent backbone of the band. And since we're talking about the bass, like there are so many bands through the ages that the key musical piece was the bassist, right? Or the guy who knew the most about music theory or understood music the most was the bassist. Like look at early days Metallica, Cliff Burton. That guy knew more about music than anybody else in the band combined, and he was the driver of their songs and their melodies and their rhythms. Led Zeppelin, John Paul Jones was a studio bassist before he joined Led Zeppelin. Like that guy, he did a bunch of the arrangements. Yeah, Jimmy Page was amazing, and I feel like John Paul Jones gets overshadowed a lot by Jimmy Page because he was such a wonderful guitarist, and then you got Bonzo on the drums just doing wild things.
Yeah.
But John Paul Jones held that band together. And then, I just lost my train of thought there. Oh, there's another one. I'll come back to. Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney. The Beatles.
Yeah.
Like, there is nobody like him. He was performing bass lines in those songs that he had no business.
I totally agree on that. And I don't even mess with the Beatles like that, but I have ample respect for Paul McCartney.
Oh, man.
Ample respect.
Somebody should have stopped him. And if he wasn't like one of the founders of the Beatles, somebody would have stopped him.
Right.
If that was me in there playing those bass lines, somebody would have been like, "Hold on, bass line. Take it back a step.
No.
You're getting out of line. Know your role." But yeah, Paul McCartney. And then, since we were talking about Motown, like, who's all over Motown? James Jamerson. He's like the heart and soul of R&B and soul bass. He is the guy. He recorded with everybody, and he inspired so many as well, right? So I think bass-driven music is coming back, and it's time for a renaissance.
It is time for a renaissance.
Bass renaissance.
The bass renaissance. On that note, we probably will take a little music break to come back and talk about, because I have a few ideas of where to steer this conversation now that you've mentioned a few things. But right now, I'm going to play a song for you. It's in Thai. And honestly, I cannot read Thai, so I do not know the name of the song. But it is by a band called Yellow Fang. And they were a pretty big band early 2000s in Thailand. Reached #1, and they were the first all-female band to do so, period, in Thailand. So yeah, they're one of the greatest I've ever heard. Especially, listen, I'm not gonna bash on Thai music. There are only a few Thai artists I respect on a high level, and that's because they have drifted away from the Thai standard. And I think they set the Thai standard.
All right.
So yeah, this is. Honestly, do not know the name of the song, but this is Yellow Fang, and we'll be right back to talk more bass. Welcome back to Civil Radio 101.7 FM. If you are just joining us, I'm here in the studio with Ryan McClary, and you're listening to Black Mike. So where did we leave off? We talked a lot about bassists like that held bands together, which is incredibly interesting and incredibly valid that we talked about that because like I've said, it's just not an instrument that I've seen really appreciated. So yeah, just so you know, if you start a band and you're a bassist, you can pull your bandmates by their ears, and make them listen to you. The bassist is one of the most important parts of the band. So.
I think you'd have to be a very outspoken bassist to be able to do that, or be a founding member.
Yeah.
Like, this is my project.
This is mine.
You guys are gonna listen to me. This is my time.
This is my time. Yeah. But also, just like, even if they aren't, the bassist is like such a foundational part of a band. I don't think I've ever heard a band without a bassist.
They exist. I'm sure
they exist, but like they're rare, is what I'm saying.
I think there's a lot of like hardcore punk rock bands without bassists. Off the top of my head, I don't think I can name any right now. But I will say, like, yeah, the bass is such a foundational part of any band, of any piece of music.
Agreed.
Where there's an arrangement. But what the bass needs to do can vary so wildly, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you could be that bassist who just plays root notes.
Dum, dum, dum. One freaking note the entire time.
Whole root notes all the way through, just to lay it over the guitar chords, and that would be good. Like, that would be the right thing for a particular song, right? Or you can be Flea and you can just play all over the neck and slap and pop, and that would be right for the song. It all depends on the song, right?
Yeah.
The song determines what the bassist does, and the bass can drive the song and be foundational, but only if they play for the song. Right.
Yeah, which leads to my question then. Playing for bands, how do you adjust for which artist or / band you're playing for?
Really, I think it's all about a vibe, right? If you're jamming with a couple of guys and you want to feel out a vibe, everybody bring a cover song. Right? You're gonna know, typically, if you know the people that you're jamming with, you're gonna know kind of their style, their forte. Like, I got a couple of buddies that I grew up with when I first started playing bass. I was a big heavy metal fan, right? Cliff Burton was my big inspiration, right? I got the Rickenbacker 4003 at home just because I saw Cliff Burton played one for a short period of time in Metallica, and I had to have it. It was my dream bass. But so I went and played with those guys, and we rented a jam space, and we knew it was going to be, punk rock and metal covers. And so when we brought our covers to the table, those were what were suggested. Okay. Right? When me and Nelly got together with Old Growth, they had a wide selection of songs that they already covered in their pub gigs. Right. So we kind of knew the vibe, right? And I tried to bring in like sort of a honky-tonk country bass sort of feel to some of these 90s rock songs to kind of honky-tonk it up a little bit, right? And because that felt right. But again, you're feeling out the vibe, right? You as much as you play for the song, I guess you play for the people too. Play for the people you're playing with.
Yeah, so inspirational. Words of wisdom. Yeah, I guess it is about like who you're playing with and what the vibe is. But okay, so what was going through your head the first time we had a jam session?
Really, it was okay. Like, this is cool. This is a new project. Something different, right? Like, in the time that I've known you, I've seen your musical influences. Right. They are so wildly different than my own. Right. And so, yeah, okay, we're going to do a vibe check. We're going to feel it out. You said something about hard rock. And, like, you can make a lot of soft rock songs hard rock. So I think from there, it's just finding songs that really fit everybody in the room.
Right.
That really kind of can resonate with everybody in the room and not make anybody feel excluded. So that's a bit of a dance. But I think what was the song that you suggested that we cover? 21 Pilots.
Yeah, 21 Stressed Out, yeah.
Which is interesting because thinking about the lyrics of that song, it's all about parents singing to their children.
Yeah.
And overstimulating them and stressing them out. Like, my name's Blurry Face and I care what you think. I just had a kid, and that was one of the things that I've been dealing with in the first 6 weeks of my baby's life, is like when to know to like let them be on their own so they're not overstimulating, because when you're in their face and holding eye contact, you can stress them out.
Right.
And so I thought that was a very fitting cover, but it definitely fits. It fits you. It fits me. I hope it fits.
I hope it fits Andrew.
I hope it fits Andrew. But he seemed to take to it pretty quickly. So, yeah, and that was perfect. That was kind of a perfect song to say, hey, this is how we're going to meld these musical inspirations that differ wildly from person to person in this room, and we're going to find sort of a common ground and a vibe that we can carry on from.
Yeah.
Right? And so now we've got a feel for, okay, this is the type of song that we can make work for us.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of difficult at first. I was like scrolling through my playlist, like what is there that can be like made into our kind of vibe, and I was like, what is the vibe of everybody right now? Because I wanted to give you a song where you as a bassist could flourish, and I wanted to give us a song where Andrew could flourish as a drummer, and vocally it's also standard, you know. But I also didn't want to stress you out, and I felt like I was doing that.
Oh no, it can be tough to try to just learn a song on
the fly, yeah.
Without like I don't have a great ear for like saying, hey, that song's in the key of G. Like,
right.
I'm not great at that.
Okay.
I can't find the key. I'm jamming with Nelly, like, it's wild. You watch him listen to a song, one of us will suggest a song, we'll be like, hey, I heard this song, it's really cool, check it out. And we'll put it on, and Nelly will just play around.
Yeah, Nelly is a beast.
In different positions, and he'll be like, okay, it's in the key of D, and these are the chords. And it's like, we're not even through the first verse yet, man.
Nelly is a beast.
So yeah, I don't have a great ear for that. So sometimes, like if I know the chords, if it's a well-known song and I can find a chord chart, great, I know what notes I can play.
Okay.
I don't really rely on tablature too much, because unless it's like an iconic bass line, I don't want to play it exactly the same way as it is on the record. I want to maybe add my flourishes.
Okay.
Right? I want to maybe make it my own.
Yeah.
But if it's an iconic bass line, like if we were playing a Chili Peppers cover,
right,
or the Talking Heads cover that I suggested,
right,
I'm playing that bass line.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But if not, and I have a chord chart, I can feel my way through it, like we did with 21 Pilots.
Right.
And I think that worked.
Yeah, it did.
And then the other thing that I found cool was just because it's a bassist and a drummer, right? Those go together so well. So having Andrew just start with a beat, or having me start with the bass line, and just playing through it and kind of feeling each other out, I think that's a really cool exercise as well.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to lead to song creation.
True. Yeah, I was, cause I don't know, I've worked solo a lot for the majority of my career, and only recently started reaching out to people like, hey, do you want to write crap together, you know? And it's intimidating in a sense, because like I'm sort of new. I'm like, who is this kid on the block, you know?
But you know what? I mean, it can be a personal thing too, right? Like, you write solo a lot.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think helps is if you're writing with other people is saying, hey, I have this concept, and this is what it means to me.
Okay.
Right? Because then you can, that other person can relate. They can tap into that feeling, right? They can be a little empathetic and try to write with the same intention on that piece, right?
See, veteran in some sort. Like, you're giving me words of wisdom. You hear that, people? This is the words of Ryan freaking McClary. Preach. Take me to church. Yeah, so from the few years that you've been, lending your bassist talents to other people, what would you say were like things that you've learned from each person you've interacted with?
So what we just talked about,
Right.
that being intentional, that sharing the thoughts on what a song means.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that from Nelly. So Nelly's a very intentional guy. He thinks before he speaks. He means what he says. He's very thoughtful. And so when it comes to the songs that he's writing, that's another thing. That's something that he shares with me. So when we sit down to a song, he says, hey, this is about this experience I had. This song, it means this to me. This is where it comes from. And it allows me to tap into situations in my life that resonate there. And then I can try to feel that while I'm making up a bass line.
Right.
While also taking his advice. So that's something big that I learned from Nelly. And then we talked about it a lot through this interview as well, and I talk about it a lot. That's playing for the song.
Right.
And I think that's something that I've just kind of always understood, but I think one of the first people who vocalized it to me was Kyler Pierce, interestingly enough. Another thing that Kyler taught me was to not be so critical of my bass playing, because I still view myself as, even though I've been playing for 26 years, like I said, I still view myself as somewhat novice compared to the musicians that I rub elbows with.
Right.
And that song, The Remedy, he played that back to me when we were recutting Nelly's vocals with just the bass line.
Yeah.
Just so I could hear how I did, because I was like, oh, how bad was that? How bad was that take? Because we did 3 takes on each of the songs, and within 3 takes we had the song recorded, and that was it.
Right.
I was like, how bad was that take? How many times did I flub it? And he played it back to me, and it was not perfect, but there wasn't a single mistake in that recording that anybody that wasn't me would notice, or maybe him as the producer.
Right.
And so that really showed me, okay, you don't need to be so critical. Like, you've got this. You know what you're doing. Just keep doing it.
I've also like, having sat down with Kyler Pierce, he's generally such a chill guy in terms of, like, first of all, his vibe, and then also just like the way he talked about his experiences as a producer. And it looked low-key kind of took me aback, because I was like, as a producer, I'm such a perfectionist, but that's mostly because I produce for myself. I'm writing my own music, I'm doing all that. I'm not great at it, but I'm doing it. And so hence why I have to be a little bit more critical of myself, because that I have expectations for myself. It was interesting, because then I imagine, in a sense, if I were ever to be in a room where Kyler Pierce is my producer, right, I'd have to, like, tone down my critical thinking, because he's just a, like, feel the vibe kind of guru guy.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, if something's not working, he's not going to be afraid to call that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kyler, you're right. He's an amazingly chill dude. He's incredibly humble. He's also good at what he does, and he's got a great ear. Like, I think there's a certain point, and I'm not speaking from experience as a producer or anything like this, but just speaking from an outside perspective. I think there's a point at which we get too critical of our own work, and we become a barrier to getting that work out there, right? Is it better to get out a piece of work that isn't completely polished, that isn't 100% perfect, sooner, so people can hear it, so that other people can relate to it and absorb it? Or is it better to continuously polish and perfect and polish and perfect and rehash and rewrite and revamp? At a certain point, you're going to get bored or tired of that song or that piece of art.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't ever release it because it was never perfect. It never got to perfect. So I think that we can be our own worst enemy in that regard. And I think, like, if you're making art for yourself or you're making art for other people, perfect isn't the goal. Perfect is the enemy of good. All right? Get it out there. get it into the hands of the people. Let them be the critic. Because you're going to be way too hard on yourself.
Yeah. Wow. Words of wisdom. Words of freaking wisdom. This is what I get for being in the room with freaking Ryan McClary. Yeah.
You give me too much credit out there. My head's not going to fit out the door on the way out of the studio.
I have to. I've heard you play. Yeah. So you spoke a bit about your musical inspirations. I wanted to touch a little bit on that, especially because we did talk about how different our musical tastes were, and when we jammed for the first time. Just kind of like give me like a rundown of your musical inspirations throughout the years and how they've changed.
Yeah, so music's always been such a big part of my life. When I was knee-high to a duck, I had the combination of my mom and my dad, and so my dad listened to a lot of classic rock, Zeppelin, AC/DC, stuff like that, but he also listened to outlaw country, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson. He also really liked Steve Earle. Steve Earle was probably one of his favorite artists. So there was some of that hardcore, heavier country and outlaw country and hard rock. And then my mom listened to pop, so she was like New Kids on the Block, Fine Young Cannibals, Michael Jackson. So I had that early pop influence as well. And then later inspirations would be my brother Mike and some of his friends. That's how I got into Metallica, into heavy metal, and kind of made my own discoveries from there.
Right.
And then my cousins, Dave and Jono, we'd go skiing and snowboarding with them up at Mount Baker. They had a cabin in Glacier, and so they were big into grunge rock, Pearl Jam, stuff like that. Pearl Jam became one of my favorite bands.
Right.
And then my grandmother. So through my formative years as a teenager, I lived with my grandmother, and she had this record collection. And it just was a random smattering of samplings of music from over the last 60 years. So
wow.
She had some like 60s pop, and she had some country stuff like Marty Robbins. She had Ella Fitzgerald, and she had soul and R&B and all
would
this.
love to be in the room with your grandmother.
And so when I grew up with my grandmother, weekends started with her. She had this old record cab,
right?
And the post had a block on it, and so you could stack 6 records, and after the A side had played on one, it would drop the next one and play the A side, and so you'd get the A side of 6 different records, and then flip it and put the lock on, and so that's how my weekend mornings started at Grandma's place, and so that really inspired an expansion of my music inspiration, and that's where I got into folk and things like Bob Dylan, Peter, Paul and Mary, and country and all sorts of stuff. And since then, it's expanded to include the craziest stuff. Like, I'll go from one day listening to classic rock to one day listening to Eastern European gypsy punk rock and everything in between. And I still listen to some of those old influences from my mom and dad. Steve Earle's still a big influence, and I still love Michael Jackson, that old pop stuff from the 80s and 90s. So, I think that it's been a musical journey, and I think for a long time as a teenager, I might have regarded myself even as a bit of a musical snob. And now it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't care who it is behind the microphone. If it's got a hook, if it's got a good beat, if it's got a rhythm, if it's got a message of inspiration or joy, I'm here for it.
Right. Wow. Well, okay, I have a really random question. Did your mom also seem to like the Backstreet Boys?
Unfortunately, my mom didn't get to ever hear the Backstreet Boys.
No.
My mom passed when I was very young. So I bet she would have. I bet she would have, because, New Kids on the Block were the original.
Because one thing about my mom was every time it was the weekend, it was Sunday, and it was time to clean the house, It's Backstreet's Back Alright. Like that was her vibe. And I'm like, Mom, and that's how you know you were in an ethnic household, because it was either gospel music playing on Sunday whilst you're cleaning and vacuuming and sweeping, or it was Backstreet Boys.
Nice.
And yeah, I just thought, because like I was like, it can't only be my mother, because I've asked around and they're like, Backstreet Boys had everybody's mother in a chokehold.
Oh, yeah. Well, like Backstreet Boys were big when I was in like elementary school, 6th, 7th grade. So a lot of those girls are mums now. And so yeah, that follows.
Yeah.
I'm aging myself there. And you know what? Getting back to that musical snob thing, I hated so hard on the Backstreet Boys when I was in elementary school and high school. I hated on them so hard. I shouldn't have hated on them that hard. Some of their songs are great.
Look, I never hated them, but I was just not like, all right, it's enough now. I've seen your men. I don't need to be a part of this anymore.
Right. It wasn't necessarily the music that you picked out, but
yeah.
I guarantee if Backstreet's Back hits on the radio in your car when you're least expecting it, you're singing along, and you can't deny that. And that goes for all of you listening as well. I know you. I see you.
Not I see. The all-seeing eye of Ryan McClary.
You do it too.
Yeah, but you said something really interesting, being a musical snob. I think I grew up the same way. Funnily enough, in my country, we only listen to Amapiano and Afrobeats.
Okay.
And like South African house music at the time. So that was like, it was very much uns music, but black people uns music. You know what I mean? And so I hated it. I was like, I'm not like everybody else. I was a coconut. You understand what I mean? I was a coconut.
Oh, okay. You don't need to say it.
And I was very much play me Taylor Swift, play me Billie Eilish, play me the sad nonsense, play me My Chemical Romance. I was on that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so it got to a point where when I got older and I was looking back at like my early years, and I was like, what the F was I on? Why was I so critical of Amapia? Why was I so emo? Give me a My Chemical Romance. No, I was like, now I think it's different, because the whole point of this show is to diversify music tastes. And so I have to constantly be like, we have Joey in studio, sorry to point you out, but I have to constantly be like, Joey, give me Chinese songs, you know?
So I got a question for you then.
Yeah.
Did you, as you got older, did you eventually come back to that South
I did.
House music
Yeah.
and Afrobeats?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I think it was only a few years ago where I was like, I gotta start listening to Amapiano and Afrobeats again. I gotta because those were really big in my country. That was really big in my country. We had December challenges where like they would have a December song, Afrobeats, Amapiano kind of song for December, because December was really big because it's summertime. Yeah. So, and yeah, I was like, give me back that. And now every time I'm on the show, I play Amapiano and Afrobeats, because I'm like, y'all, I'm African. What y'all need to hear this.
Dude, I didn't have a huge knowledge of Afrobeats. I was a big Fela Kuti fan before I met my wife.
Oh!
I love Fela.
Okay.
But man, our house is filled with the sounds of Afrobeats and Nigerian artists now. And honestly, that's good stuff, man.
It is. That
is good dancing music.
That is good dancing music. Yeah. And especially, no one really talks about, since we're on the topic of the bass, no one really talks about the bass in those songs.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, it goes really hard. Okay. Yeah. Half of the time, it's not like an electric bass, you know, it's
Right.
not a it's synthesized.
Yeah.
But the other half of the time, when you actually hear it, like the actual electronic bass, you're like, whoa, I didn't know what game you were on, sir. Put me on, give me 12 of them right now. Which kind of reminds me actually of the song that I may have to play now that you've reminded me. It's called Push to Start by Tyla.
Oh yeah.
I played it on the show before, but I'm just gonna play it again because obviously love Tyla, and amazing artist that I think deserves all the recognition she's getting. So here is Push to Start by Tyla, and then we'll be right back to continue the conversation. Here's Push to Start. So, welcome back to Civil Radio 101.7 FM. We're joined here again with Ryan McClary. You just heard the song it's KK. It's written KK, but he pronounces it Kiki. I guess, is it because he's Korean? I don't know. Anyway, that was by Penamiko. Yeah. What do you think of that song?
Yeah, like you said, Afrobeat.
Afrobeats
by a Korean artist.
Yeah.
And it's like sped up Afrobeat.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he does his own spin on Afrobeats, which, from what I've seen on like his newer albums, because typically he did like hip hop, right? And then he was like, he said in an interview once he was so fascinated by Afrobeats, and he had work done with an African producer, and I was like, absolutely. Like, as soon as you say you've done research and you've had the time, you went out of your way to the bare minimum to seek out an African producer to, you know, do that, I'm gonna listen to your music. 10 out of 10.
Hey, it's a cool spin on it. It's something different, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You'll also find, actually, and this is flexing my worldly knowledge, you'll also find there is a Chinese artist that does the same thing. Okay. She goes by the name Vanita Wang, and she also had a few of her songs produced by an African artist, which is in like a mix of traditional C-pop and Afro-pop. And it was like, that blend was awe-inspiring. I was like, soundgasm.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is something that I think you should, like, Vanita Wang in general is an artist that I'll always throw out as an artist to look out for, just because I don't think she's one of the more talked about. If people talk about C-pop, people don't even know C-pop. We've had this discussion before on the show, but people don't even know generally who the top people are on C-pop, because like a lot of it is mainstream China and Taiwan, and they don't even know the difference, right? But I could give you a playlist of Chinese.
You could.
Yeah.
I imagine you're probably the only person I know who could give me that playlist.
Joey's in the room too.
Sorry, Joey.
Joey could give you a playlist.
You and Joey, so two people that I know. And it would be a bop, I'm sure.
Absolutely. But, yeah. So, yes. Sorry, I had to clear my head of Afrobeats because I'm super excited about that now. So we talked briefly about band dynamics, and I wanted to touch again on that because you've played with the bulk of Northern Dark Horse and some other bands. I wanted to know, in that regard, what would you say, especially with the ones that you had already known, you know, what would you say was the band dynamic like? Like, how was the flow immediately? Like, oh, we have a vibe, we have do we already know what we're gonna do? How does a typical jam session go for you?
So, I jammed with Kyler back in the day, in the Harma White days. A bunch of guys used to live in a house here in Abbotsford with a big jam space in the basement, and I'd go and jam with my buddy Brad, who played the drums, and as people got home from work in the afternoon, they'd sort of calm down, strap on a guitar, and start playing. So where that dynamic started with me was very chill. very just feel it out. And a lot of the time I found myself playing with musicians who were much more talented than I was. So they could walk into the room and hear what I was playing with Brad on the drums, and they could put something to it. Now, of course, you know, jamming with musicians and playing their music or finding cover songs that work, you know, a lot of the time it's for a bassist, start out on the root notes, right? And then feel out for those hidden melodies inside the song that you can tap into. If it's a existing song, maybe you can write a bass line that follows the melody of the vocal, or maybe that you can just do roots and fifths or something like that, very country feel. But yeah, like all of the jam sessions that I've been in have been very much just chill and vibey, and like, you know, see where we get along musically. I've never really had a clash of personality in a jam space. I've never had a clash of opinions in a jam space. So I guess I should count myself fortunate, but very chill. And like getting on stage with Northern Dark Horse, like I knew those songs. I knew my bass lines for those songs, front to back, upside down, backwards with my eyes closed, although I do have to look at the neck of my guitar constantly to make sure that I don't miss a note or something like that. But I knew those songs. So I was getting on stage with Nelson, who wrote the song, so obviously he knows the song, so I'm comfortable from that perspective. And then with Northern Dark Horse joining in, like, I just know how good these guys are. I know they're gonna fall in. Yeah. Like they're gonna fit right in. Right. And so of course they did. And like getting together with Old Growth, I knew what kind of songs they were playing in their performances, so I knew what kind of songs we were covering, and we all brought a couple of cover songs to those sessions, and it was very much just vibey, just like, hey man, we're gonna try this song out. Hey, I like what you did there. Maybe try something different here, but no clash of personality. It's all very chill.
Yeah, that's. I think I've asked this question to a different other veteran personalities that I've had on the show, and I'm always like, it's always chill. I don't think I've ever heard people say that there was a clash of personalities, and I think it would be so interesting both for plot wise and also musically to see that kind of difference.
Well, you see it in like prominent bands a lot. Like think of Oasis; they were throwing shoes at each other on stage and fighting. Or the Police, you know, Stuart Copeland basically calls Sting an a-hole anytime he gets the opportunity. So, like, there's definitely a clash of personality, I think, when ego gets a little inflated. But at the end of the day, man, we're playing music, and that's something that I love to do. I love music. I love to listen to music. I love to be steeped in music. So, like, if you think something that I'm doing doesn't fit the song, yeah, tell me. It's chill. I'll adjust. I'll back up. Or if you think I should do more, you think I should, you know, cut loose a little bit, great, tell me, I'll do that. Like, it's very chill. It's very relaxed.
You're a lot better than me.
I think it's just like, I think in my old age, I'm becoming more zen.
Yeah.
Or I'd like to just say that I am.
I think I want to get to that point where I'm like, I'm too old to do anything and complain and whatever, because like it seems like that's the best way to go.
I am definitely too old to complain.
Well, okay, we don't know that. Like, you're younger than my mother, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So, yeah, I guess my next question would be... Oh, my days. I guess my next question would be, when are you writing your own music?
I mean, in the closet, I am doing that already. Do I have anything ready to show the world yet? No, and I maybe should take my own advice here and stop polishing.
Yeah.
But trust me, Arthur, it's not polished.
Come on.
I just had a baby boy too. Like, I haven't. The amount of times I've picked up my bass or my acoustic guitar in the last 6 weeks is embarrassingly low. I have not engaged in a lot of my hobbies as much as I could because a lot of the time I'm hanging out with my kid And
That's cute.
That's honestly, it's like somehow more rewarding than any of the other stuff.
Oh my days, that's so cute.
Even if it's just like looking down at him while he goes, nah, and then pukes all over himself. Like, to me, that is pure joy.
That is so cute. Okay, you know what? Scratch that. I do want, I don't. I'm just gonna say this. End of the year, I want a full album. I want a full album from you.
End of 2026. You know what? I haven't written down my musical goals for 2026 yet. So, you know what? I won't give you a full album.
An EP at least?
I'll give you an EP.
Yes! I want to hear some, like, real Ryan McClary.
Bro, it might just be instrumental.
I don't care, man. Give me Ryan McClary. Give me 12 of them now.
12? 6.
Okay, 6.
Yeah.
6. Yeah.
I will work my ass off on 6 songs in 2026.
Yippee. Okay, well, in that case, just to pick your brain, no spoilers, just to pick your brain, what is the general vibe of your songwriting so far? Like, I know you said you've picked up the bass, like, so minimal, but, like, what has that been like?
It's very spacey sort of jams. Like, I think during one of the breaks I had mentioned Krang Bin and Laura Lee from Krang Bin, the bassist,
right.
Who's their musical arranger. So taking a lot of inspiration from jam bands like them. Very spacey, very vibey, very just mellow, fun movement, kind of related bass lines. That's the kind of stuff that I'm into right now. So yeah, if I was to put something out and record something, I'd probably err towards instrumental jams and have that nice, just mellow, laid back vibe.
And would you have, like, I don't know, Nelly on guitar? And...
Yeah, you know, I've told Nelly that I would like to do an instrumental project and I'd like him to be a part of it. He's also a big Krang Bin fan. During me and Nelly's Sunday jams, Nelly sometimes gives lessons to our buddy Tage, who now just comes and joins in our jam sessions on Sundays and has for the last year and a half. And the progression this guy's made in a year and a half on the guitar, just sitting in on those jam sessions, is wild. He originally wanted to get a drum kit and play drums, and we had discussed possibly doing a jam band with that structure. But yeah, I mean, Nelly's got a few originals that he's working on right now that we're working on. He definitely wants to get back in the studio this year. But hey, this might be the year that I convince him to do an instrumental project.
Yeah, I need that. I need that like yesterday. You know. Yeah. Also, this is kind of gonna put you on blast, but it's fine. It's fine. It's not really. So yeah, when Nelly was on the show and you heard that, you did mention that if we wanted a bassist to be on the song, wink, wink.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nelly flat out said that he'd like to record that tune.
I would love to.
And if you want a bassist, for sure.
You know, yeah, I gotta set that up eventually, somehow, somewhere. Gotta set that up. Especially because season 1 of Black Mike is closing soon. So, give me a month. Give me a month. And I really want that song to be recorded. It was so good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely down to sit in on that session if you guys have it.
Yatta!
When you guys have it.
Yeah, I would love to have you. Yeah, I guess my question now lies, Mr. Experienced Bassist. What is your tips and tricks for new bassists? You've been playing 20-something years. Yeah.
Don't rely on tabs. Like, yeah, learn bass parts to your favorite songs on the bass, for sure. But don't rely on tabs. Learn your diatonic chords or diatonic notes, chord tones. triads, and arpeggios. That will unlock the neck of the bass for you. It'll open up your eyes to the structure of making bass lines. And it sounds stupidly simple, but triads and arpeggios, chord tones, that's all you need.
That is, yeah. Honestly, I was trying to learn the bass at some point, but I'm also thinking, like, I would love to learn the bass, but I'm also trying to learn the drums, and I'm also writing, and I'm also doing this, so I was like, I can't do all that.
You know, with bass, I think a certain amount of music theory goes a long way. And I think for a lot of years, I was overthinking it, or I was just winging it, not understanding the puzzle that is the neck of the bass or the neck of the guitar. And once you figure out a few of those movable patterns, like, it becomes a lot easier. And man, I still got a lot to learn. I'm not some master bassist, right? I'm not a master at my craft, not yet. But those little things, triads, chord tones, arpeggios, those are the things that will unlock the bass for you.
Well, you heard that. You heard that right.
And you know what? If you feel like you don't know what to do, you can always just rely on root notes.
True.
Right?
That doom, doom, doom. What that? It will get you a long way.
You can just lay back, lay out, hit those root notes for a little bit while you find your place again.
That is awesome. Also, number one tricks for new bands coming out in the Fraser Valley that are listening to this: hug your bassist, guys. Yes,
hug your bassist. Buy him a beer at your next show. Ask him about his life.
Yeah, I guarantee your bassist is a little more extroverted than you think. I will push the extrovert out of Ryan McClary at some point. But yes, yeah. I did want to show you Vanita Wang, just because. Yeah, Vanita Wang, top tier. No, that's Lexi Liu. It's fine. Okay. So Vanita Wang recently came out with an album called Seventh Seed, and one of my favorite songs on that album is Kill the Fear. This is the one that has the African producer on it, and honestly, I was flabbergasted by how she basically merged the two styles. And yeah, I'm just gonna show that to you so I can stop ranting. But yeah, this is Kill the Fear by Vanita Wang, Manu, World Star, and Ava Like Lava. Welcome back to Civil Radio, 101.7 FM. You were listening to Black Mike, and you just heard Heyday by Stray Kids. So we're now at the end of our show. And also, if you just heard that, the most lovely human being that is around Civil Radio has given us, what is this? They are Choco churros. They're chocolate flavored churros. And I've never been one to, like churros. Do you like churros?
Yeah, I like churros.
I don't know. I always felt weird about churros. They just look like long, short, like dehydrated poop. Like.
But it's like donut dough basted in cinnamon and sugar.
I don't like cinnamon.
I got a sweet tooth. Churros? Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll have to try these then. I'll definitely have to try these. But yeah, we're reaching the end of our show, and it was lovely having you. Thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
You know what? It was lovely being here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad you asked me to do this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I had to. Kyler suggested I have you and Franklin and Yeah, the entire gang. I'm probably gonna have for season 2 have everyone in Northern Dark Coast come to the studio.
Yeah, you should do that.
I should definitely do that. Manifest, yeah. But yeah, we've reached the end of their show. Usually by the end of the show, I teach the guest the outro to the show. And that means that you'll be doing the outro for us.
All right.
So the outro goes, now that you've been thoroughly indoctrinated into the Black Mic agenda, I have been your name, and I bid you adieu.
Okay. Now that you've been fully indoctrinated into the Black Mic agenda.
Yep, I have been
Ryan McClary, and I bid you adieu.
Yeah! But of course, we cannot leave without playing our theme song. So here is After Hours. I hope you have had an amazing time. We bid you adieu here in the studio. Bye-bye.